Good morning, all from the United Kingdom, from Cambridge, United Kingdom. Hello.
Good morning.
Good morning, Ilaria. How are you?
Okay.
Yeah. Is your boss back yet?
She's, which actually doesn't necessarily mean that this week is going to be a lot lighter than 2 weeks ago, but that's how
Oh,
it
okay.
is. It's never a good time. There is never a perfect time.
Right. Okay. Excellent. Hi, Vincent. How are you?
Ilaria, good to speak to you. How are you?
Very good. Yeah. Yeah. So you two are gluttons for punishment. You come back for more. But we do have some new faces here as well. So who have we here? Is that Fiona?
Yes. Hi.
Hello, Fiona. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
Good.
How about you?
Yes, not bad. Not bad. Spring is coming, so that's good.
I'm in Zimbabwe, so winter's coming here. But
oh, right, in Zimbabwe. Okay, winter. Yeah, but it's not exactly it's not a harsh English winter, is it?
No.
Yeah, so
it's just colder inside the house than outside.
Yeah,
it's more of a winter inside the house because the houses are made to keep the heat out more than the cold. So, but if you go outside, it's fine.
Right. Okay. Well, yeah, I still think it's probably going to be nicer than our traditional horrid, cold, grey English winter. Super, excellent. And we also have, I believe, Diana.
Yes, hi.
Hello, Diana. How are you?
Good.
Excellent.
Just a little bit sick, so if I turn off my camera, I blow my nose. Sorry.
Oh, okay, right. Hopefully, just normal sick, not COVID.
Yeah, it's a cold. No, it's a cold.
That's okay. That's fine. That's fine. And we also have now. I'm Noah.
Nawar, I can help you. Good morning.
Noah, excellent. Yeah. Okay, I wasn't far off. I wasn't far
not
off.
far. No, not bad at all. I can tell you.
Excellent. Welcome, Noah. Right. So we're just waiting for one more, Andrew. I think Andrew Holgate, who I imagine should be joining us very shortly. But welcome to you all, and thank you very much for being so punctual. So that is fantastic. Can you confirm that you can see on the screen, basically a largely black screen with Albany written on it and using communications to solve complex problems in challenging environments? Can you see that? Yeah. Good. The technology is working. That's fantastic. Right.
Sorry, just one thing.
Yeah.
I want to apologize in advance if it constantly looks like I'm not looking at the screen. It's just I'm looking at my big screen and my camera is on the laptop. So it's not that I'm not.
That's the same. We have the same issue.
And people think I'm ignoring them, but I'm not. I'm actually looking at the screen.
Yeah, doing some sneaky emails. Yeah. No, that's absolutely fine. I fully understand. Yeah, absolutely fine. I'm just going to configure my screen actually to get all the little things in the right place so I can see you all and see chat and all that sort of stuff. Excellent. Okay, well, I know Andrew was online a few minutes ago, so I don't know where he is now. And he's a technology lead, so he should be quite good with this stuff, this technology. He should be. But it is now 5 past. What we're going to do is we're probably going to head into this, and Andrew can join it. It's just an introductory part to start with, anyway. And Ilaria and Vincent, you're quite used to the way I now do this, so none of this will be a shock to you anyway. Okay, so hopefully we're all here for the right reasons: public speaking and presentations. We call it public speaking, but it's actually it's the training we do is to do with speech writing and speech delivery, but also presentations as well. We consider it the same sort of thing. And this is lesson 1. So this will be approximately 3 hours that we'll be doing now, and we're going to be looking at predominantly the audience and the message. 2 pretty important parts of this element of public speaking. Just a quick look on the technology. etiquette notes, yeah, names. You've all put your names up on the Zoom system, so that's fine. Please feel free to pose questions in chat. They'll be addressed at the end of each section, but we're pretty laid back here. If you really want a question, and you're on camera, just start doing that. I will respond, or I'll just let you keep doing that for a bit. People can laugh. So yeah, don't feel afraid about just saying, hang on, can I just ask a question? That's absolutely fine. If not, do it in chat. Please mute when talking, standard procedure. We will be doing breakout rooms as well over this. And here we have Andrew now. So I'm just going to bring him in. We'll be using breakout rooms. They will be allocated at random, except actually the first exercise probably won't be allocated at random. I'll explain why later on. If you are breaking up, then camera off. But as we're a small cohort, it'd be quite nice for everybody to see each other as well. But if you are having problems, or you've got to blow your nose, that's fine. You can turn the camera off. That's absolutely fine. Andrew, hello. How are you? Yeah, it's good.
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, excellent, good, excellent, super. Thank you very much. We've just started. We're just doing a little bit of ground rules, so you haven't missed much at all. Excellent.
Great.
Super. What else? Raise hands digitally required. As I said, yes, you can be cool and put digital hands up, but if not, just make a lot of noise and stuff and say, hang on, can we just do that again? Fine, okay. This session will be recorded. So the video of this will go onto the learning management system. So if you do miss some of it, or you think, actually, I just want to see that again, then it will be on the system for you to look at by tonight. Hopefully, I might do a little bit of editing, but it'll be on the system by tonight, so you can go back and look at that. And if there is a complete internet failure, then I do have hopefully your numbers on your mobile numbers from the pre-training survey. So I will contact you within 15 minutes to see what we're going to do. Hopefully I'll get internet back up, or if you've lost internet or whatever, I will sort it out. And just one last thing on the technology. We like doing this, and Ilaria and Vincent are very familiar with this. We like to look at your textbook. Have you been reading your textbook? Let me see, because as you know, we don't provide digital real textbooks for our courses, especially now COVID-19. We do it electronically. So the course textbook is actually a digital mobile learning app-based workbook, as we call it. So you now have those. The licenses are specific to you. You now have those to use on the web or on your phone or on your iPad or whatever it is you use. Just to see, public speaking, that's the one you've got at the moment. Yeah, you're all there. That's excellent. So let's have a look at, and Andrew is leading the race. We like to have a little bit of a race during our courses. Andrew's reading the race. He's actually started reading his workbook. Yeah. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to get worked up if we look at this and go, oh, I haven't read the workbooks. It's a reference document for you for later on. Yeah. So in a year's time, you think, oh, I've got this presentation and Jem said something really good and I can't remember what it is. You can go on there and have a look at it. Okay. So it's a resource for you. Okay. But we will occasionally check just to see if you are actually reading it. Okay. So, bit of a check-in then. So who am I? I've just been talking to you about what's going on. Who am I? Well, some of you might have heard my name before because I've worked with WFP before now. Jem Thomas. I am the Director of Training and Research at Albany Associates. Albany Associates, a small British company that basically works in areas of the world very similar to you, challenging environments. But we try to address and help and solve challenging issues in those environments through the medium of communication. So running campaigns, doing the social science research around communications, and also training organizations such as yourselves, but also NGOs and governments as well. My personal background, I'm actually trained as a nuclear engineer. People go, what relevance is that? I was in the Royal Navy for 23 years, and I did actually start out as a nuclear engineer. And I was a nuclear engineer, but I actually ended up doing what we call media operations. I wasn't naturally an engineer, media operations. So in my latter years in the Royal Navy, I was a spokesperson for the European Union in Bosnia, and also a press director for NATO forces in Afghanistan and for British forces in Iraq as well. And then I went on to become the chief instructor at the Ministry of Defense Media Operations Center. So I left the military as an instructor in this kind of stuff. And I found communications to be so powerful a medium to try and solve issues that I continued in this role and ended up where I am now. Academically, obviously an engineering degree, but also I have a master's degree in international relations and international security studies, and postgrad in public relations, postgrad diplomas in public relations and social science research. So hopefully with that, you might think, this guy might be worthwhile listening to. He might have something to impart. I don't know, hopefully. So that's me. That's my background. Now, I don't know most of you. I do know some of you, and I don't know how well you know each other. Because obviously WFP, a big organization across the world, so some of you might not know each other. So what I want you to do is I want you to explain, who are you? But I want you to do it, and this is relevant to the training. I want you to do it like this: your name, what you do, and why you are here in this Zoom session, and all within 15 seconds. Okay. Okay, I know I spent more than 15 seconds explaining me, but I'm the instructor, so I'm allowed that. So 15 seconds, your name, what you do, and why you're here in this training, okay? So let's start with some seasoned veterans of our courses, because they did the media engagement course. Let's start with Ilaria.
Thank you very much. Okay, my name is Ilaria Dettori. I am the Deputy Director in the Emergency Division in HQ. I'm here because public speaking becomes an increasingly relevant part of jobs in WFP as you go up in seniority, and it's not something where we normally train staff. So we find ourselves improvising as we go from one role to the other. And secondly, because it's increasingly important to get it right. We work in a crowded environment with lots of actors, not a lot of money, not a lot of, and as WFP, we struggle to put across beyond the usual suspect, the full range of value we bring to the table. And it's something we have to do much more and much better.
Thank you, Ilaria. I couldn't agree more, actually, with those sentiments about, making, you are in a crowded market. Lots of people demanding attention from lots of people, including your donors and partners. So absolutely. Okay, Vincent, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks. So I'm Vincent Brown. I work with the Private Sector Partnerships and Fundraising Division in headquarters and based in Rome. And I'm here because our division spends an awful lot of time working with, various public speaking engagements, conferences, that sort of stuff. And whether it's me or the people that are in charge of me, spending time in front of others, pitching or explaining programs, whatever it happens to be, I think it's important for my public speaking skills to kind of match that. So yeah, happy to be here.
Great, thank you very much, Vincent, for that. And yeah, your sentiments, once again, they reflect a reality within the organization. Okay, let's go to Fiona now in Zimbabwe.
I'm Fiona Guy. I'm the head of foundations in WFP, and I'm a person who prefers the written communication, email, WhatsApp, text. I try and avoid speaking during meetings, picking up the phone when someone calls me. So my job requires me to effectively speak, and that's why I'm taking this course.
Excellent. Well, in that case, Fiona, we are honoured that you have spoken to us. That's excellent. Thank you. See, you're learning already. I think that was very well delivered within 15 seconds as well. So, thank you very much. Super. Okay, and for the written medium. Okay, well, we're going to take you from the written into the more oral and visual over the next few days. And Nawar. Did I get that right?
Yes. Yeah, so I'm Nawar Labidi. I'm also based here in HQ in the global coordinator for the food security cluster. So the food security cluster brings together a number of partners of food security and food security actors together. And therefore, I mean, it's very important also to communicate clearly, confidently, to try to bring, I mean, all this convince, adapt, adjust to various audience. It's my work is also to connect with many people outside of WFP, of course. So that's the main purpose also for me to come to this training. Thank you.
Great. Okay, super. Thank you very much, Nawar. And yeah, food security. Yeah, a major part of what you do. And once again, many donors and partners you'll want to engage in on this. Okay, and Diana.
Hello, my name is Diana Dineva, and I'm a graphic designer and branding specialist for nutrition. I am here to learn how to communicate, since we have in nutrition division, we have quite complex and technical language, and we would like to translate them into a more appealing for audiences. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Okay, yeah, technical language. I think actually Andrew might say something similar, as that that's often a common refrain from those who work in a technical world. Who say, look, you know, we fully understand when we talk to each other, we know what's going on, but you go and, you know, present to people who are non-technical, sometimes it can be a real issue because you're using a language you're comfortable with and they're just going, I have no idea what HTML is. What do you mean? You know,
Yeah, exactly.
Excellent. Okay, super. And Diana, whereabouts are you based?
Rome.
You're in Rome as well.
I'm not in Rome at the moment, in Bulgaria.
Okay, super. Okay, Bulgaria. Excellent. Okay, super. Thank you. And Andrew, finally to you.
So my name is Andrew Holgate. I'm the technology lead for the communications division in Rome. I'm here because I'm a natural introvert and I pretend to be an extrovert sometimes. I think I function quite well in small groups. Large groups I do not. I have presented at technology conferences in front of a couple of hundred people before. And I think I did okay considering my introverted nature, but it's something I'd love to improve. Not so much speaking to large audiences in public like that, but more dealing with larger groups and meetings within the organization.
Right.
And like Diana, my issue here is that my role is highly technical, and to explain these things to almost any level gets quite difficult. And so I'm really looking at ways to simplify my language and communicate maybe what's important in what's in my head.
Yeah, okay, super. Thank you, Andrew. And whereabouts are you based right now?
I'm in Rome.
You're in Rome as well. Okay,
yep.
Super. Excellent. And where's the accent?
It's Aussie, mate.
Yeah, I thought it would be. So you're a long way from home. You're a long way from home, aren't you? Yeah, excellent.
I'm 26 hours away.
Yeah, wow, okay, super. Excellent. Right, thank you very much, everyone. So now we know each other. And let's proceed with what we're going to do over the next few days. Expectation check. What do you want from this training? Well, you kind of just explained that to me, really, and why you were here. And also you have done the pre-training survey. In terms of specific issues you're facing and wish to address, well, you kind of mentioned those as well. And some of you have put in assignment, the first assignment, so I can see where we're starting from. Some of those subjects already coming up as well, and we're going to develop them further, okay? Talking about assignment 1A, which was your pre-work assignment. Let's just have a quick look at where we are. I have downloaded and seen 4 of them. So 2 of you, I know who you are. 2 of you have not done the assignment yet. It's not a huge drama. It just means you might have to do a little bit more thinking for the assignment tonight. Okay. But for the others, I have actually seen your assignments and looked at, and I can see, yeah, you've a starting point. Okay, so that is good. Right. Okay, back to this. So what are we going to do? Yeah, what is this module that we're going to be doing over the next week? Okay, a couple of objectives. These were the objectives which were asked in the pre-training survey, of which last time I checked, only 5 of you had done it. I'm not going to comment anymore. But these are the objectives we're kind of looking at: analyzing the audience communication styles, developing presentation techniques to suit audiences, their specific communication styles, because it's quite important. The audience is quite a big part of this presentation thing. It's not all about you, even though some people think it is about them. Oh, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, I've got to speak well. It's actually the audience that really matter. So also adapting prose and tone to suit the audience communication style. Building message structures aligned with objectives. Objectives, very important, as Ilaria and Vincent will attest. I go on about objectives. Applying some basic principles of psychology. Looking at some linguistic mechanisms, some little magic tips and tricks. Well, not tips and tricks, they are legitimate linguistic mechanisms to help people engage with what you're saying much more effectively. Also looking at behavioral techniques as well. That goes back to a bit of the basic psychology, how we can use behavioral techniques. Also looking at script structures. We'll be looking at the third session. Yeah, how can you really write an effective script which will work for you? And when I say script, I do not mean verbatim. Yeah, no one should ever be walking away from here thinking, right, well, I'll write it all out and I'll read it. Even though Fiona, I think you'd be quite happy with that because it's all written text.
That's what I do. Now that we are working from home and have meetings over Zoom, I can actually turn off my camera, or even not turn off my camera, but look at the screen and read out what I'm going to say. And I wonder, how am I going to deal with a return to the office? Okay,
well, fine, because we're going to look at this and we're going to write a script structure which is not verbatim, but it's useful enough for you to be able to take it and even stand in front, in front of in a lecture hall and deliver, but having a very simple script structure with you as a safety net that you can easily refer to. We're going to look at that. Yeah. Look at visual aids. Some of you have already seen, I've seen some of you are much more visually capable at the moment anyway. And there's some quite nice presentations you've already presented as starting points, but we're going to go a bit further than that. Try and inject some creativity, even though I'm sure there's lots of creativity amongst you anyway already. Bit of non-verbal communication as well. Oh, did we have an extra member there, Andrew?
Sorry.
No, it's fantastic. I like start them young. Brilliant. Okay, yeah, bit of non-verbal communication, because even in the screen there is non-verbal communication going on. Yeah, and of course you will be going back to the office where there's going to be a lot of non-verbal communication on. So thinking about that regarding yourself, but also looking at the audience and seeing, trying to understand their non-verbal communication. And also a little stagecraft as well. Not so relevant for when you're sitting down in a meeting room giving a presentation, but if you do have, a stage, like you're in a lecture hall or in a classroom and you're standing, then we're going to look a little bit at that as well. Okay, so they're the objectives, to get you to a point where you go, yeah, I'm comfortable, I can do all these things. In terms of the program, you've all seen the program, so I'm not going to dwell too much on that. Only thing to say is that tomorrow afternoon you will have your one-to-one sessions, half an hour each with me, just to go through your presentations. That'll be tomorrow afternoon and Wednesday afternoon. Thursday is quiet, but Thursday is a time maybe for you to work on presentations. Because ultimately what we're going to do is take your initial ideas, which you've submitted as part of assignment 1A, and we're going to build on them. We're going to develop them so that come Friday, when you will present a short presentation to everybody else, they will be so much better, hopefully, than you've ever done before, because you will have developed them over time. You'll have had time with me to discuss them. You have to change things, adapt things, upskill them, upgrade them, turbocharge them, swing wing them, all that. So to come Friday, when you will present back, you'll think, wow, okay, that's something I couldn't have done at the start of the week. Okay, and they will be short. There will be short presentations, and the reason being short presentations, people go, oh, why, Jem? Why can't you get us to do an hour's lecture? So an hour's presentation. Is that actually it is much more difficult to write effective short presentations than it is long ones. There's a great saying from Woodrow Wilson that if you'll allow me to speak for an hour, I'll do it now. But if you only want me to speak for 5 minutes, I may need a few days preparation. And that's true. Yeah. Concise but powerful presentations, yeah, are more difficult. So if you can do them, you can basically do anything after that. Okay. So that's where we're going to go. Okay. Today, audience and message. Tomorrow, linguistic mechanisms and behavior. Then on Wednesday, the presentation itself, looking at scripting structure, non-verbal communication. And then on Friday you will be delivering, and we will critique. Yeah, and see where we can fix things, where things are going really well, maybe we can adjust. Okay, so that's the way we're going to be doing over the week. Okay, so is everybody happy with what we're going to be doing over the next week? Excellent, that's what I like. Super. Okay, let's crack on. 25 minutes in, let's crack on. This session itself, they are the objectives. Okay, so really we're looking at, as it says on the tin, the audience and the message. Okay, this is often what I think happens in communications, and Andrew, you will have seen this before, and maybe Diana, because it comes from the tech world, but it's so true in communications. Yeah, that's how the customer explains things. Yeah, that's how someone understands it. That's how it's designed. That's how it's written by the programmer. That's how the business consultant actually describes it. How the project was documented. Yeah, how it was installed, how it was built, how it was supported, and what the customer actually wanted. Okay, this is an utter failure of communication. Okay, and it happens within business all the time. And okay, we do have the other mediums of written briefs and email, but human beings respond really, really well, or not, to that verbal communication that we have often in meetings, often through presentations, yeah, often in front of an audience. So that's what we want to get to, where how the customer explains it, as in you, and actually what you need and what everybody else understands as well. That's where we want to get to. Okay. So to do that, we need to understand, who are we talking to? How did they respond to us as human beings when we have them in a room with us as a group? Yeah. So that's what we're going to look at, because we have to remember, and I said this already, the presentation is not about you. The audience is king. So we have to really, really concentrate on what the audience is, who they are, and how they respond to what we're going to be presenting to them, visually and orally. Okay? But there's a problem, because psychologically, this is what we do as human beings. Yeah? Is we conduct egocentric communication. We communicate with others in a manner in which we wish to be communicated in. Yeah. So if I think, oh, this is the way I would like to receive this information, therefore this is the way I'm going to transmit it, that's what we do. But of course, we're not talking to ourselves, unless you're, of course, talking in front of the mirror to yourself and you think, wow, that's really good. I understood that completely. Aren't I brilliant? You're not. You're talking to others. So we have to transition, yeah, to more professional communications where we have to translate, yeah, our initial message into a manner which works for the audience. And audiences are complex. Yeah, you sometimes are audiences. You are my audience now, and you are complex. Yeah, you're beautiful, but you're complex. Yeah, so that's fine. So we have to understand. Hence, this is why we put out, you know, pre-training surveys, so I can get an idea of who are these people. Okay, it is very important. I'm being flippant, but it is very important. Okay, and there are many, many different types of people. Yeah, and we have to cater for who they are. Yeah, and just for the techies amongst you, I love this joke because it does make, I think, my point. Yeah, there are only 10 types of people in this world. Those that understand binary and those that don't. Yeah, I can see Andrew's, oh yeah, the two, oh yes, I can see Andrew nodding. I can see Diane, yeah. Okay, it is a joke, but the point is, yes, there are many, many different types of people. And how do we define them? How do we break them down so that we can then think, okay, how are we going to communicate with them ultimately? Okay. Well, I've already sort of started that with you because I asked you certain questions, yeah, about what you self-reported as your strengths. I used something called Strength Scope. Okay, that's a system. That's why I asked you, there were 24 points in the pre-training survey, and I wanted you to identify 7 self-reported. Yeah, so there is a caveat that they were self-reported. You know, if someone else had commented on you, they might have said something different, self-reported. But it gives me an idea of who I'm dealing with, who I'm dealing with regards to who they think they are. Yeah. The point being is we can actually start breaking down an audience into different types of personality and the way that they might understand their communication with others. Okay. And it's something called the 4 styles, which we can break an audience down to. Okay. This is not exact science, but actually looking across all the literature over years and years I've been studying this, yeah, there are 4 styles or elements or common denominators or whatever there are. Okay. And they are this in terms of your audience, who you're going to be speaking to. Okay. There's the emotional. Yeah. The emotional type of person, yeah, represents the person who's known for creating results and being socially oriented. Yeah. Then there is the relational, yeah, the diplomat, yeah, the one that everybody knows, gets on with everybody, works on relationships, yeah, that popular guy or girl, yeah, the relational, sorry, okay. Then there's the executional. Yeah, these are the head honchos. These are the flyers. These are the CEOs. They represent power and strength and are results oriented. Okay. And then there's the thinking. Yeah, those ones that, yeah, I've got to think about that. I'm going to reflect on that, I think. Yeah, like a bit of detail, please, on that. Okay. So if we break those down into 4 styles, yeah, these are the people we've got to communicate with. Okay. So I'm just going to do something here. So I think I've lost that. If we, oh, hang on, sorry. So if we break down and say, okay, what's communication? How does communication work for these? The emotional, they like big picture. Yeah, if I'm going to be presenting to someone, they want big picture. You start giving them little details, getting very technical, they're going to turn off. I go, just give me the big, so I can see it in all its grandeur, and I will buy into this thing. hit me with a lot of technical data and facts, and I'm not going to be able to see that. Or if I want to be able to see that, I'm going to have to work at it. And actually, I'd much rather you as a presenter present me with a big picture of what's going on. Okay. So that's the emotional type. The relational is, okay, what's this to do with people? Which is great for you because WFP, you're a people organization. Yeah. So how does it affect people? Yeah. If you can engage me on that level, I will be much more interested in what you're saying. Okay. In terms of communication. The executional, they like straightforward facts. You don't give them big picture. You don't get woolly and artistic and fancy and flowery with the executional type. They're not interested. They want, give me hard facts. And if you don't, you're not going to win me over. I'm not going to want to do what you want me to do. And yeah, that thinking one, yeah, they're the ones that really do need the details. Yeah. They're the ones that will dig down and go, okay, yeah, I can see what you're saying. You want me to do this. You want me to fund this program, but I ain't gonna, you've given me the big picture, but I need to go a little bit deeper. Yeah. It's got Paula who's joining from comms. I'm just going to bring Paula in. Yeah. So there are these 4 styles who respond to communication in very different ways. So we need to start thinking, how do we, one, identify these people, and how do we communicate with them? Yeah. Okay. And let's just see if we can. You're thinking, oh, is Jem talking rubbish? Well, let's just see if we can actually do that. These people are sometimes called activists or emotive theorists, pragmatists, directive reflectives. Yeah. Because across all the sort of literature and study, they all say that, yeah, this kind of does work, but they call them different things. But let's have a look. Okay, so if we have this grid, so I've just shown you, yeah, emotional, relational, executional thinking. Who are these? Where would you put these people on that grid? So there's a chap we've all recognized, the Dalai Lama. Where do you think he goes from there? Anybody want to hazard a guess? Ilaria, what do you think?
I don't know whether it would be emotional or relational, probably emotional.
Yeah. I think so. I think he's certainly above the line. Yeah. Probably does a lot of thinking as well.
Mm-hmm.
Probably, but he's definitely not in that quadrant. I can't imagine the Dalai Lama getting up and going, right, guys, this is what we're going to do, okay? Yeah, don't argue. Yeah. No, I can't imagine that. So we can see we're getting a sense. Okay, someone that's very well known. Okay, fair enough. Okay, what about this person? Margaret Thatcher.
Relational? Not.
Very good. Yeah. Executional. Yeah, I think it's pretty fair to say. Yeah. And in lots of her memoirs, in meetings, it was said, you went into a meeting, a discussion, a briefing with Margaret Thatcher. You started giving her big picture ideas, you were out the door. She didn't do big picture. She wanted some straightforward facts. She will make her decision, but you need to give me the facts and I will then make the decision. Yeah. So very, very, you have to be very, very sure of how you would be communicating with someone like Margaret Thatcher. Okay, what about Barack Obama? A little bit more complex, maybe. He was the president of the United States, so, executional. But not Margaret Thatcher style. Yeah.
I'd say he's more relational than executional.
Yeah, I think most people would put him in the relational. Yeah, he was a community worker for years and years and years before he became the president of the United States. Yeah, he worked community people. That's what mattered to him. Yeah. So in terms of communicating with someone like him, yeah, you have to bring it back to the humanity of what you're doing, why it matters to people. Okay. Richard Branson, if you know him, head of Virgin. And where would you want to put him if people didn't know him?
That's a bit tricky.
I mean, you could do one emotional too.
Actually, that's where most people would put him. They'd put him in emotional. They'd
Emotional,
say,
yeah, big picture, big ideas.
Yes, exactly. Yes, people would say, if you went into Richard Branson and started giving him details and straightforward facts, that would put him off. You give him a big vision. Give him big vision, big picture, then yes. Yeah. Other people can get the details, but he had to buy the big vision. Yeah. So yeah, definitely an emotional. Albert Einstein?
Thinking.
Yeah. Yeah, he did a lot of thinking. He was good at that stuff. He was a really good thinker. Yeah, thinking. Okay. Interesting one. Angela Merkel.
Executional.
Executional. Yeah.
Tricky as well, eh?
Sorry?
It's a bit tricky as well, because it's...
Yeah, this is a little bit more complex, really. I think, having looked at this and discussed it with many people, I mean, she's PhD in chemistry, obviously, very, very clever, has done a lot of thinking in her life. Emotional? Don't know, but we all exhibit all of these.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'd say she's to the right of that axis. Yeah. And actually remarkably, she's very good and buys into relationship building. She's very good at building relationships amongst disparate groups. So executional moving into relational is probably where Angela Merkel would be. Okay. And I'm not even going to bother with that one. I've no idea. That's off the charts.
I think you need a new description.
Yeah. I think you really need a totally new schematic and paradigm to work on that one. Okay. But
fifth quadrant.
Yeah, fifth quadrant. But I think there we've proved that yes, we can kind of get a sense of where people, what type of people they are, and therefore how would I communicate with them? What is the best way that I can communicate in a manner which they will appreciate? Because it's not about you, it's about them. So we've just touched on that, okay? And I did it in the pre-training survey. Admittedly, this is a very small sample, so I wouldn't really pay too much attention to it, but it's interesting because that's you. There you go. I'd say looking at that, there's a lot of reflective stuff going on there. Yeah. In terms of executional, yeah, you don't know. Big picture, activist, emotion, theorists, empathy. That's good. That's good. WFP has empathy. Yes, that's hitting there. But a lot of reflectives. So this is a small sample, so I wouldn't necessarily, really go for it. But it's an example that you as a group are exhibiting, and actually you would be reflective. Yeah. Therefore, you do like the details. Yeah. You're not really big on the big picture. So if this was representative of WFP, yeah, I'd say, giving people, if you're in meetings with lots of people, talking big picture, the vision thing, probably not a popular move. Yeah. Okay, so the point being, it is very, very important to try and understand who your audience is. Interestingly, if you have a key decision to be made after your presentation, who do you think, and let's face it, most audiences will be a mix of all of them. You're not going to have everyone who's purely, unless you've got a bunch of Einsteins in the room. They're not going to be purely of one scale. If you had all those 4 represented in the room and you had to have a decision made based upon your presentation, who do you think you need to, which box do you need to concentrate on?
Pink one.
The pink one. Why?
Because they're the ones that make decisions.
Yeah, exactly. They're the ones that will make decisions.
The others can influence them, but
yeah, those can influence, but ultimately, yeah. Now, as we work on through the week, we're going to see actually what we want to do is try and tick all boxes. Yeah, if we can. We may tend to move to have an extra emphasis on one depending on the audience, but we don't completely abandon the others. Yeah. So we will be working on approaching all these styles. Okay. Let's just go. Okay. And once again, there you are. Yeah. I think over the more training I do, the better idea I'll have of what WFP are. Okay. But another thing to consider, especially in your line of work, working for a United Nations agency and working across the world, yeah, is cultural nuances. Yeah. But, here I am, Jem, in Cambridge, white, Anglo-Saxon, born and bred in England, traveled a bit around the world, but that's me. I am not reflective of WFP, and not as individuals, you're not. You're a whole mix. So we have to consider some cultural nuances in our communication. There are many studies on cultural influences within organizations and how communication is affected by it. Hofstede is quite a popular one. But I've taken this from a book called The Culture Map, which works on a lot of these cultural studies that have been done. And I said there are several different ways in which culture is affected in the way that people interact in organizations. Yeah, there's evaluating, yeah, so feedback, direct versus indirect. Yeah, there's leading, different styles of leadership, egalitarian versus hierarchical. Yeah, militaries are very hierarchical. Yeah, NGOs, egalitarian. Yeah, depends where you come from in the world as well. Yeah, Scandinavia, very egalitarian. Eastern Europe, much more hierarchical. Yes, they affect the way people interact. Okay, decision making, very similar, consensual or top down. Yeah, different regions of the world, different organizations have different ways of dealing with that. Trust, is it task based or relationship based? I trust you because you do a good job, or actually I trust you because we've spent time building a relationship, and I know your family and I know blah blah blah. Yeah, how is trust formed? Disagreement. Yeah, is disagreement accepted? Yeah, we can disagree and we can be confrontational. It's good. It works things out. Or actually, no, that's really not good. We want to avoid disagreement and confrontation and deal with it in a different way. Different organizations, different parts of the world. Yeah, scheduling, linear time versus flexible time. Yeah, is this actually defined in time, this program, or is it more flexible? So again, across the world, different ways of looking at time. The two specifics, which are these are all relevant to communication, all very relevant, but these two are very specific. Persuading, yeah, because that's the point of communication. We'll come back to that. Persuading others to do your will. Okay, well, principle first or applications first? Yeah, this very much depends on how you were brought up. Yeah, what part of the world and what educational system, and also deeper cultural elements as well. And we'll look at that in a bit more detail in a minute. And of course, communicating as well, low context versus high context. Yeah, that in some languages of communication or not even languages, some cultures, even speaking in English, sometimes there needs to be a lot higher context, or higher context is allowed, but in others, no. It has to be absolutely straightforward and not being reliant on a contextual background for us to stand and to really appreciate what's going on.
Could you explain the persuading principle first versus application first?
I shall, Ilaria. It's almost as if we actually rehearsed this. I shall. Okay. So principle first versus applications first. Yeah. Principles first, as it says there, trained to first develop theory or complex concept before presenting facts. Yeah. This is deductive reasoning. Yeah. Preference is to begin with a message or report by building on a theoretical argument and then moving on to conclusion. Yeah. That's so give me the principles and then come to a conclusion and I will buy it. Okay. Versus applications first. Yeah. So, yeah, there we go. To begin with fact and opinion and later add concepts, work up context to it. This is inductive reasoning. The way people develop their understanding of the world. Okay. Less theory-based, more matter of fact, and then working with theory. Okay.
Could you maybe give an example for each one?
Yeah, I can actually. Okay. Suppose you came to England in the winter, yeah, and every day it rained. Every day it rained. You could make the assumption that, yeah, using which one would that be? That would be applications first, yeah. That it rained every time I went to Cambridge. It rained in the winter. Therefore, it always rains in Cambridge in the winter. Yeah. So I had some facts, and I've come up with my theory of, oh, well, this is the case. Yeah. Whereas if we go to principles first, yeah, you'd work the other way around. Yeah. It always rains in Cambridge in the winter. Therefore, if I go to Cambridge in the winter, it will rain. So there's a subtle difference in the way that you approach information. Yeah. I mean, that's the book. It's actually in your background resources. It's definitely worthwhile reading, especially in organizations like any UN organization that is, full of people from different backgrounds, yeah, different countries, different education. Yeah, absolutely fascinating. And I'll just pick up what Erin Mayer says on that. Where is it? Showing my age here, I've got to wear glasses. Yeah, yeah, principles first. Yeah, everything made of copper conducts electricity. Yeah. Therefore, if you've got something that's, the conclusion is, I have something that's copper here, it will conduct electricity. Yeah. And likewise, in fact, she uses the same thing about temperature in her home country. Yeah. If it's really cold below zero every time you visit, you assume it's always cold. Well, that's not actually true, but yeah, that's the theory you've come to based on the facts you've accrued first. Yeah. So it is quite important to think about the cultural nuances, the way people actually work with information. Now, in an organization like yours, you're going to be pretty much in the middle of the road anyway. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. But you never know, you might work in a country where you have to think, okay, how do people actually process facts and theory and understanding of the world. Yeah. Ilaria.
Sorry, and not wanting to jump ahead, but this is relevant. Why? It's relevant because we want to understand how to influence someone. Yes. So if in an application first, in a conversation with somebody who thinks application first, we start with the theory, we lost the person. Yes. And vice versa. And also depending on whether what we want to change is the theory or whether we want to change is an understanding of the facts, a contextualization of the facts.
Yes. I mean, there are a couple of examples that have come across, especially between American businesses and German businesses, actually, where you'll get Americans will come and they'll go, hey, well, this is what we got to do. Okay, blah, 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 blah. You know, this needs to be done A, B, and C. And they might explain why it's a good idea. Yeah. And the Germans are going, hang on, why have you just hit us with these facts without explaining why they're a good thing to do in the first place? So the Germans would go, actually, if we're going to persuade the Americans to do this, we are first going to explain the big idea, the big theory, of why A, B, and C work. The two totally opposing ways of coming in and communicating with each other. Yeah, facts first and why, as opposed to why and then facts. That's a very simple way of putting it. Yeah. But it does, you know, I've many tales of where it's gone really badly wrong. You'll have a delegation that's come and said, they treated us like fools. Just gave us these facts and didn't even bother to, try and go into any depth. Or the other way around, where you get a delegation going, what was all that? What was all that highfalutin theory they gave and conceptual stuff? What was that about? I just want to know what we need to do. Yeah. So a cultural nuance around persuading. Okay. Then in communication, the low context versus high context. Yeah. Good communication is precise, simple, and clear. Messages are expressed and understood at face value. Yeah. I don't need to think, okay, what is this in relation to? What's the context within which this communication is being conducted? Yeah. As opposed to high context, where it is much more sophisticated nuances and layered. Yeah. I think example being that I think the English language has something like 12 times as many words as French. Yeah, that's because in French it is much more nuanced. A single word can mean different things depending on its context. Now we have some pretty odd things in English as well, but I don't know about Italian. Italian might be the same. Italian probably, I imagine, is similar. That there is a lot of context.
French,
yeah. It's what's the context this is in. Whereas in English and non-Latin based languages, yeah, it has to be quite direct. Yeah. There's no implied meaning in words. There's no implied meaning. This is straightforward. This is what it means. It does what it says in the tin, on the tin. Yeah. So once again, thinking about where you are and who you're dealing with. Once again, WFP probably on the road, but you never know. You may be working in other countries, country directors or whatever. How do they communicate? And I did skip across this, so we'll go back. You'll notice here, holistic. Because principles first and persuading principles first tends to be a more Latin, from a more Latin system. So the European, continental Europe and Latin America, yeah, more conceptual first, facts later. Whereas the US, the more, I was gonna say Anglo-Saxon, Germany's not quite there, not in the same league, but UK, US, yeah, very applications first. Yeah, whereas Asia is slightly different. Asian takes a much more holistic, that needs to know a lot of environmental background to an issue or a discussion point. Yeah, it's not just about facts or theory. It actually has a lot to do with background. Okay, so again, that's probably worthwhile read. Or Hofstede as well. I haven't put him in. That's more deeper academic stuff. But definitely these things have to be considered regarding your audience, because you're going to be talking to them. Talk to them in a way which works for them, not for you. Okay. So with that, okay, so let's have a think. The types of audiences that you are going to be talking to, yeah, are they principle first, applications first, low context, high context? I've just said probably you're going to be middle of the road, WFP, but what? So tell me. I've made assumptions about your audiences. What's more reality? Anybody?
It probably depends. I'm guess in what I see is that in certain meetings with chiefs and upper management, it's more about the applications, like applications first.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, say, with principles, say from the technical side, you kind of need to get into the background of what it is you're up to and the rationale why before getting to what you're going to do. So in my case, I kind of see a bit of both, mostly the principles, let's say. It depends on who I'm dealing with. Depends on who I'm dealing with.
Yeah, actually. And you're right, actually, it tends to be that the more senior you go, the more actually you need to get down to the business of ABC. You need to do ABC. Yeah, less theoretical. Yeah, like, a little bit like the Margaret Thatcher. You didn't really do big theory and principles of Margaret Thatcher. You went straight to applications. Yeah, Ilaria.
Although I agree that when you are in meetings, it goes more to the application first, Margaret Thatcher style. But in terms of the culture behind the meetings, where really the influencing and the decision making takes place, by and large, it really is a big mix, and it really depends on the individual. I mean, I've had situations where I had a boss who was from Africa, and then he moved and we got a Swiss-German replacement, and the way how things had to be communicated and the way how decisions were made drastically changed overnight. And because we have, if we talk about, for example, WFP internally, a really varied mix of people, how the environment in which decisions are made before and after the meetings, before and after the visible part of the process, it really, really, really varies.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's an interesting case study you mentioned there. You have a one boss, and then you have another boss. And if you're meant to be briefing these two bosses over time, you don't say, oh, I'll just go and brief the new boss in exactly the same way as did the old one. That would be crazy. But people do. People will go, oh, we've got to give a presentation to the new boss. And I've seen people go, oh, I'll just get the old presentation out. And I'll brief, I've got 15 slides, I'll just go through them, just like I did with the old boss. You think, no. That's definitely not taking your audience into account. Yeah, does that make sense? What about the others? What do you think? What about low context and high context? Have you come across any examples of where?
Yeah, I guess being from a English background and living in Italy, I see this quite a lot. I mean, also my partner's Italian, so I'm very familiar with this. But let's say, yeah, high context in Southern Europe, I would say. Like there's a lot of nuances, things which aren't said, that kind of understood.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be sitting there saying like, I get it, but I kind of don't. There's a piece missing sometimes. So I'm also speaking about work. So yeah, that's something I can definitely see. Whereas I'm probably more from a low context culture. So we kind of just get straight down to business and kind of talk about what needs to be done, as opposed to, and speaking clearly about that. Clearly from my point of view. But yeah, the high context, I see more of that in WFP as well, which is, it's very interesting and often requires like clarification.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the point. It's, you know, in low context, it's often that you have to be, you know, very straightforward because you haven't got the ability to use context. You know, it's not as if low context and high context are better than each other. Low context, again, in low context, much more straightforward. But that's because you have no other choice, in a way, because you can't use context. And they go, oh, I don't need to say that because it's understood, it's implied, it's implicit. Yeah. Vincent, what about you?
Yeah, I think, and I don't know if it's just because it's Monday, but trying to differentiate between the two principles, first applications versus low context, high context. My brain isn't really connecting them properly, unfortunately. But in terms of looking at a situation where in WFP, and I see it a lot in our division as well as just generally across the organization, that it is so kind of dependent on the person and the audience and the cultural context, etc. But a big thing that I see a lot is people talking who just love the sound of their own voice, or who want to kind of like provide as much evidence that they know more about the subject than you do. It's kind of it can come down to arrogance to a certain point. It can also just come down to a kind of a trying to hide the truth of the matter underneath jargon. Whereas while I've also got a problem with talking too much, I do try to get down to the point a bit quicker than some of my colleagues, and I try to be a bit more pragmatic in approaching things. I like to say openly, you know, Y is the situation, X is our goal in all of this. So I think that is something that comes up, and it could just also be because the UN is so jargon filled as a system.
Yes.
Yeah, but I think that, so I'm, again, unfortunately, I'm having a bit of difficulty trying to differentiate between the two, but I guess that would fall into a high context situation in some respects, where there's an awful lot of explanation required after the fact, and maybe it requires a bit more of a pragmatic or common sense approach, let's say.
Yeah. I mean, I think your point, which you made quite eloquently, is, you know, actually trying to really understand where the audience is coming from. And I get the sense from what you're saying is many people just go off and off. Often what they want to do is just show off. And it's all about them. It's not about the audience. Yeah. Often that comes from insecurity.
It also just, I think, an extra thing, which I think, you know, because our operations are so based in like a couple of specific universal languages, let's say in English, in Spanish or French or whatever the context is, but predominantly English. I think, unfortunately, sometimes if the speaker is from a native English speaking country, they can, you know, flip into very jargony, overcomplicated languages, which, or like words and phrases, which it doesn't kind of, especially if the person that they're speaking to is on their, you know, potentially second or third language, which they're totally fluent in, but it can be too complex, which I think is another reason to call for like greater simplicity when we approach these things.
Yes, we'll be looking at simplicity later on. Yeah, you're absolutely right. We even the low context Brits, sometimes we do go high context because we actually use phrases like I used a few minutes ago. It does what it says on the tin. Now, Brits would go, yeah, get what you mean. People from other countries go, where's the tin? What tin's he talking about? Yeah. It's just like, well, one of you mentioned before about actors, that you work with actors. Now, I've got to admit, I'd love to work for WFP because you've got all these actors you're working with, Brad Pitt and, Angelina Jolie and, all these actors that you work with. Be great. Because you understand what actors are, the jargon. Yeah, actors. You have actors with instruments often, actors playing guitars. What? So, so that's a context. That's you're using high context there because everybody understands actors. People outside WFP or UN organizations go, where are the actors? What, they watch films all the time? Okay. But yeah, absolutely right about jargon. And that's definitely in the realm of context, high or low context. Yeah. Fiona, what about you? And then we'll go to Noel.
I think the other colleagues have their hands up longer. Okay. No,
Don't be shy.
No, I'm not. I was just not wanting to jump in. I also think it depends on. I think you can also find both types of contexts in different cultures. Because I grew up in Spain and I'm fluent in Spanish, and I know that when I write in English and I'm writing, for example, a press release or doing a presentation, the English language allows for smoke and mirrors and jargon and all these buzzwords, and you can basically say nothing while pretending to say something. And when I've translated that into Spanish, it just doesn't hold. So while in Spain and Southern Europe, you might consider that high context, they also are able to call out BS very quickly and not let you get away with. So with anything, I realize that when I've translated, for instance, a press release or any other document or a fact sheet from English to Spanish, wait a minute, we're actually not saying anything in English. We're not saying anything altogether because the original language we were writing, project proposal or whatever it was in English, there's when you translate it into a different language. And I've heard it happens in Italian as well, but not sure. I just wanted to raise that point, and that I do find that, and I don't know how to say this diplomatically, but I do think that a lot of fluent English speakers use jargon in a way that also isolates the non-fluent, even maybe not consciously, but it does create a divide sometimes in a room.
No, I couldn't agree with you more. Really, yeah. It is often subconsciously that it's being done. And it's something that we need to watch out for. Absolutely. I love that. The problem for us, for English speakers, is that the lingua franca is English. And I love that phrase. The lingua franca is English. But lingua franca isn't even English as a phrase. But we use it. We've adopted it into our language. Oh, lingua franca. It's English. Crazy. So we do have to watch out for that as English pure, as native English speakers. You're absolutely right. But interesting in your context, shifting from high to low context through translation. That's an interesting one. Or completely switching context through a straightforward translation. You think, actually, that's been translated perfectly, but now it means something totally different. But the translation's actually perfect. Yeah. It's the beauty of language and the way we do communicate. Absolutely. Noah, what about you?
Let's unmute. No, I was also thinking, that really very often we shift we switched from low context to high context. I mean, we need both, and in my view, it's a little bit beyond the audience itself. It's also the situation, the matter that you want to communicate. But sometimes, I mean, you can create the conditions to switch to the low context. I mean, if you feel that you have the confidence, you have the evidence, whatever, I think you are much more, I would see it like this. I will feel more comfortable, more confident to go and be quite straightforward. When you are already yourself not very sure or not very sure about the reaction that you'll get, you might use a little bit more the high context. That's a little bit something a little bit beyond even assessing the audience.
Yeah.
Itself. Yeah.
Yeah. It's not just the audience. It's the audience and the audience's context, not just knowing language of context. What is the audience's context now? What are the conditions they're in? What are the circumstances they're in, as well? But you're right. You know, something like WFP, by and large, you're going to be, you want to be as straightforward as possible. Yeah. But the point being, we have to consider sometimes what the audience might be feeling, what context, how their language works, as well. It is about, hopefully, the last hour we spent really talking about, you have to spend the time understanding the audience. You can't give one presentation you give yesterday to one audience and then think you can just lift it and do exactly the same to another audience. You can't. You might be able to, but you have to take time. I've taught this course hundreds of times. Every time I do it, I will spend quite a lot of time messing around with it. It's the same course. It's got the same objectives, but subtly, the audience will be different. It was WFP. It was actually the Ukrainian government last week, or it was the Somali government or an NGO. Subtly different every single time. Yeah, because I have to sort of contextualize as much as I can the needs of the audience.
And you feel it actually for people who don't contextualize.
Yes.
You feel that they talk to themselves, because you have that kind of situation where people do some kind of presentation and you hear it in different occasions with different audience, and it feels exactly the same. So they really, they don't convey much more, but just they talk to themselves.
Yes. And you think that's egocentric communication. That's communicating in a manner which you want to be communicated with. And that's pointless. It has to be about the audience. Okay. So if nothing else, if you take nothing else from this bit, is you really do need to spend time understanding the audience and not just lifting a presentation or a speech and saying, oh, I'll do the same again. No. That's not going to do. Spend some time working on the audience. Any other questions and comments at this point? Okay. In that case, let's move on to something completely different. Well, no, not completely different. We're now going to look at the message. Okay. And then we're going to come back tomorrow to actually how we put linguistics and behavioral techniques into getting that message across. Yeah. Now, I know that Ilaria and Vincent, you have come across this before, because you have been on a previous course. So when we do the exercise, I'm going to make sure you are split up. Yeah, we will be doing an exercise later to actually try and get this message house technique to work in this presentation and public speaking context. Okay. To start with, I'm going to introduce you to Morabian's theory. Have any of you heard of Albert Morabian, apart from Ilaria and Vincent, who have? Okay, Albert Morabian was a anthropologist and sociologist working in the late 60s and 70s, and he did a huge study on communication between human beings and also to a degree primates as well. And he posed this theory about the meaning of communication and where meaning comes from in terms of interpersonal communication. Yeah, when we sit down and talk often, okay? So really he was looking at meanings, attitudes and feelings invoked by communication. And this is how he broke it down. He said there are three things, really, three main elements. Notice the three, we'll come back to three later. But meaning, attitudes and feelings are translated through content and words, what is actually said. But also, meaning, attitudes and feelings can be evoked through the tone, the way or how it is said. Okay, so what is it said? How is it said? And then also there is non-verbal communication as well. Everything that is unsaid. Yeah. If you had to put percentages onto that, what would you say? If content and words, how it is said, and non-verbal communication all added up to 100% in invoking meaning, attitudes, and feelings, what would you give? What would you give content and words? How important are they in percentage?
I think the lowest.
The lower.
Yeah,
Was that Fiona that said that?
Yes, because I'm laughing because I'm thinking of that cliche phrase, you know, when someone says, "It's not what you said, it's how you said it." Like when someone gets offended. So I think from that I would say that content is the least, followed by tone, and then non-verbal communication.
And this is from Fiona, who likes writing stuff out, who likes words. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Okay. So that's the smallest. Okay. Well, okay, what's the biggest? What's the biggest influencing factor?
The non-verbal, I think. Especially if you're sitting in a room together.
Yeah, okay. Very important. Yeah. He posited it. Okay, this is it's a little bit too precise, really, but these are the figures that he put to it after his study. 7% content or words, 38% tone, how it was said, and 55% is non-verbal communication. Yeah. Or body language, facial expression, body language. Yeah, we get a lot from this. And we'll be looking at this on Wednesday, more of the non-verbal stuff. Yeah. And what I mean by non-verbal also is it's not just body, it's the use of props. You know, that's a, you know, if I go, that's a non-verbal, that's a visual signal I'm giving you. So it is also about visuals as well. Yeah. The power of a really good diagram or image. That's non-verbal as well. Okay.
That's why they also say if you look at a good TV show, a bad TV show is one that you can just cover with a blanket. You cover the TV and you understand everything that's going on. Whereas a good one, you also have to look at the non-verbal communication to not miss anything, the clues, and you cannot just walk away. You have to watch.
Yeah, absolutely.
To get everything.
Yeah. So almost going back to context again, isn't it, really? Yeah, that all of a sudden with really good non-verbal communication, visuals, you're adding so much richness, you're adding context. Yeah. But this was Moravian. Yeah. It's been discussed for years and years and years, but actually I think the premise is pretty good. Yeah. And actually, as Fiona said, you know, there are now sayings which have been around for hundreds of years. Yeah, it's not necessarily what you say, it's how you say it. Yeah. This is where we're going to go. We're going to start looking at the content or the words. How do we actually form up those contents and words and make them work so that if we were doing an exam, we could get 100%. Because content and words aren't very important in this schematic, but you can't ignore them. And actually, they are pretty central because you can't say anything. The how it's said doesn't really matter if you haven't got what actually is said in the first place. Yeah. So although it's only 7%, it's pretty central to the whole endeavor. So we're going to look at this, how we start building up our content and words, our idea, okay, which is where we come to the message, okay? Now, message house. Message house is something which is a scheme which we've used and I've used for years, and it is so flexible. I've already taught Vincent and Ilaria using message house for media interviews. It can also be done for huge campaigns, yeah, communication campaigns, advertising campaigns, but also it's so flexible, it can be used and is very effective, I think, also in presentations and speeches. So that's why we're going to look at this thing called message house. And it really relies on having one simple message and 3 supporting points. And it's called a house because it looks like a house. Yeah, straightforward. Yeah. Don't worry about how all the information in there. Now we're going to go through that, okay? The principle of message house is you have to have, okay, not necessarily a strategic objective, but an objective. And this is very, very important. You have to know, and this will come back to script and structure on day 3, you have to know, what are you trying to achieve? And importantly, once again, it's not about you, it's about your audience. X to do Y. I want the audience to do this after they've heard my presentation or speech. So you need to define that. What am I just going in to give a presentation because the boss has said give a presentation? Why am I doing that? And okay, if it's you want the audience to be impressed by your wonderful PowerPoint slides, that's fine. Okay, it's an objective. Not a very satisfying one, but it's an objective. I'd say you need to be a little bit more, you know, ambitious than that. But it could be, you know, I want, I'm going to give a presentation and I want, you know, the people in the room to walk out of there and go, actually, we are going to adopt this new platform or, yeah, technical. We are going to start using the app, the new WFP Super Duper Food Cluster app, which you've got on the phone, which no one wants to use, but actually it's brilliant. Give a presentation, they're going to go, actually, I'm going to download it and have a play with it. That's what I want them to do. So I want the audience to download this app and actually start using it and playing with it. We may still not like it, but at least I've got them to download it to mess with it. That's an objective. Or it could be to a donor. Yeah, I need you, you know, the donor in the room with me. I'm going to do a presentation. I want that donor to walk out that room, yeah, and support this project, which I want them to do, to support. That's an objective, yeah. Or to a government delegation. I want this government delegation to walk out of here and seriously consider when they go back to their country to tweaking this legislation, yeah, to help food distribution or whatever it is. If you don't know why you're doing the presentation in the first place, why should the audience even bother? Okay, so objectives are very important and always in terms of the audience. So understand the audience and know what you want them to do. Okay, so how do we do that? Okay, well, we want them to really buy into a big message. Yeah, it's a strategic message in a campaign or just the message. What's the message? When they walk out the room and someone says, so what was that about? They can go, oh, well, blah. This is the message. Yeah. But at least they will take that away. Yeah. But human beings, we're quite complex. That, you know, if someone says to me, you know, support this program, you need to support this program. We need more money for this program, or adopt this new technology. Yeah, we need more than that. You're just telling me to do that. I'm not necessarily going to buy it. We're more subtle. Yeah, we're more complex. So what we did say is, behind that message, you'd have 3 supporting themes, and those supporting themes, yeah, are built up from information stories and examples. Yeah. And often it will be an iterative process between your themes and the message until you land on these 3 key themes and a message. They would form the centrality, the central node of your presentation or speech. Yeah. And the best way to illustrate this is from a campaign going back years ago. Yeah. And it's also on the app as well. So if you've read the app, you'll already seen this. And I'm going to look at that very shortly. The psychology of this is, if you have a group of people amongst you, if they are provided with information, stories, and examples, they are aware, yeah, or have the ability to think around a thing, technology, program, whatever it is. If the information, stories, and examples bolster a supporting theme, then that audience can build up an attitude and emotion. And if they have that attitude and emotion and they understand and buy into those, then they should more easily understand and respond, behave to your message, achieving your objective. Okay, so that's the theory behind it. Yeah, so a lot of theory, but ultimately it's about these supporting themes and what information, stories, and examples you will have there, which will bring about this message. And we'll be working on this. But let's have a look at the example, the case study. The case study is from the 1980s, and Ilaria and, and Vincent, please excuse me, you've already seen this. And it's from the 1980s in America, specifically in a place called Texas. Texas, an extremely proud bunch of people, so proud that many people would think that is actually the map of North America. You're either Texan or you're Canadian, there's nothing in between. Yeah, not quite true geographically, but the Texans could think that. Back in the 1980s, a really bad littering problem in Texas. Okay, they had usual campaigns going on like this, which you probably see across the world. You know, pitch in, put trash in its place. Woodsy Owl says, "Give a hoot, don't pollute." Nothing really happening. Yeah, Texas was drowning under litter. And it was costing a lot of money in 1980s prices, $25 million per year, and rising at a 15% per year in 1980s prices. That's several schools. You know, that's a couple of hospital wings, which weren't being built by the state because they were having to deal with litter. So they said, okay, how are we going to deal with this? They went to an advertising agency, a comms agency. How are we going to do this? These messages aren't really working. The advertising agency said, let's look at the audience. Let's try and understand our audience. Okay, now they were talking about big audiences, but the principle's the same presentation. Who's my audience? What are they like? Yeah. Anyway, in this case, they found actually the audience they needed to persuade, yeah, were these kind of guys. Notice these kind of guys. Yeah. Because there were many people in Texas that were law-abiding and didn't litter. Yeah. But this, the 18 to 34 or 45-year-old males, yeah, Texas good old boys, they were the ones that caused the problem. They were the target. Okay. So they worked on a message using something similar to Message House. Yeah. And they came up with this approach. That was their objective. 60 to 45-year-old males stop littering. Okay. Same as presentation, I want them to walk out of here and support my project. Or I want to walk out of here and start adopting, this new technology on a platform or whatever. Yeah, that was their objective. They then decided that 3 big themes worked with these guys. Yeah, with that audience, okay? 3 key themes. Pride, machismo, being a man, and something about being Texan. They were really big themes that worked with those guys. And I say they are guys, those macho guys. Yeah. And they back that up, those 3 themes with information, stories, and examples. What was their big message? Anybody have an idea of what their message was, which caught the imagination using those 3 themes? Don't mess with Texas. Now, there is a nuance in that in English that, you know, mess means 2 things. There's context there. That's high context, isn't it, actually? Yeah, mess means litter and mess, but also mess to aggravate someone. Don't mess with Texas. So they came up with that message. Okay. The upshot was they ran a campaign, and their campaign is still running now, 40 years later. Yeah, but within the first year, 73% of people knew exactly what that meant, but importantly, littering rates dropped by 30%. So in terms of their objective, yeah, 16 to 45-year-old males to stop dropping litter. No other causal effect. There was no other reason why this 30% drop been achieved. So very, very powerful message with very, very useful and resonant themes. Okay. So that's big picture communication campaign using message house. But I think it's one of the most illustrative examples of using a message house to communicate with an audience, 16 to 45-year-old males, or the 8 or 10 people in the room in front of you, yeah, with your PowerPoint screen behind you. Same principles can apply. Yeah. So the point being, what are the big themes? Yeah, just think about the big themes you need to work on, because they will become the 3 pillars of your presentation, I think. And there's a reason for that psychologically later, why we go with 3s. 3 big chunks in any presentation, any good presentation, 3 big chunks. Okay, so what are those 3 key themes? And ultimately, what's the message going to be? If I walk out of this room having sat down with any of you for 15 minutes, what's the message going to stick in my head? Okay, so we want to exercise that. Really, we want to exercise that. So we are going to do a message house exercise. Okay. Firstly, we are going to break for coffee, but I'm going to explain the exercise before you go to coffee, so you can have a think about it, and then we're going to do it. Okay, we're going to do it in breakout rooms, and I will be coming in and out of the breakout rooms to see how you're doing. Okay, this is the exercise. There will be 2 syndicates. Yeah, they will be allocated at random, except Ilaria and Vincent will be on separate syndicates. Okay, because they've had a bit of experience using Message House. But each syndicate is to produce a basic message house. Yeah, themes and message only. Okay, themes and message. Don't if you want to, you can start getting information, stories, and examples as well. But because you have the internet and you can just look things up, and also what we're going to be doing is we're talking about 2 very, very well-known things, apples and oranges. Yeah. And the generic objective is, for each syndicate, is you want me to buy your fruit. Okay? So I've got enough money to buy 1 piece of fruit. I either buy an apple or I buy an orange. It's up to you to persuade me. Yeah. So what are the 3 themes and the big message you're going to sell me? And if you want to put information stories, explaining the information story examples, then you can come up with some ideas as well. Because I say you can go and research, you know, what are the advantages of apples? Apparently apple a day keeps the doctor away. Yeah, don't use that. That's an old one, but yeah. We'll probably do that for about half an hour. and then we'll come back and I want you to debrief each other, each syndicate, and justify why you've come up with these themes. Okay? And ultimately, if you were to do a presentation on these themes, they would be the 3 core chunks that you would talk about in a presentation. Okay, so if you had, if WFP, you had to go, you had 10 influential members of, I don't know, other of donors, and you had to sell them apples or oranges, what would be the 3 big chunks that you would be working with? Okay. Then anybody got any questions or comments before we go in, before we break for coffee and come back, and then we'll start the exercise?
Is it done like, if I'm on the orange team, that I know that the apple team will be pitching like a competing fruit, or is it completely like a separate? We're trying to sell you just this piece of fruit.
Yeah, no, you know there's someone else. Yeah.
Okay. Because
there always is. There are always other ideas, aren't there? Like, either I support this or I don't. Yeah. So yes, okay. Assume there is someone else who will be pitching another fruit. Okay, you happen to know it's apples. But also don't make it too negative. Don't plan your whole presentation on anti-apples or anti-oranges. You've got to sell your thing, but you are aware that someone else is working to sell their product as well. Any other questions before we break for 10 minutes for coffee? Okay, well, it is now coming up to 1:45. So it's almost coming to 11:45 in Rome. And I don't know what time it is in Zimbabwe. What time is it in Zimbabwe?
Same.
Okay, right, 11:45. Okay, so it's 11:45 here. We'll come back at 5 to 11, and then I will just quickly make sure you're happy with the exercise, and then I'll put you into breakout rooms. Okay? Everybody happy? Right, so I'll see you in 12 minutes at 5 to midday in Rome and Zimbabwe. Super. See you shortly. Okay. We shall press on regardless, because Ilaria has actually done Message House, so shouldn't have too many problems with this. Right, let's sort this out. Okay, so just to reiterate, each syndicate will have a fruit that they are to sell to me, okay? I am just as your audience as you take me, okay? Anglo-Saxon, in communications, works with messages all the time. So I'm who I am, okay? But I'm your audience, and you've got to sell to me, okay? So you've had 2 hours to get to know what I'm like, okay? Got to bear in mind, as Andrew asked the question, that the other team is going to be trying to sell their fruit as well. I am to buy your fruit as your objective. Message and themes. The most important thing here is probably your big themes. How are you going to actually break it down into themes, which you can use as a presentation? Okay. What message are you trying to build upon those themes? And if you wish, think of some information stories and examples that you can help your themes. Okay. Persuade me ultimately to buy your fruit. Okay. This will take about half an hour. I will come in and out of the sessions to see how you're going. In half an hour, we'll then come back out, and each syndicate will brief back their themes and the message and justify why those themes work. Okay? Is everybody happy with the instructions? Okay. Right, I am going to send you into your 2 breakout rooms, and then I will see you very shortly. You have about half an hour. So, we're all back now. Are we all back now?
Yep.
Excellent. Okay. Well, in that case, let's hear what you got. We're going to go first. Let's go alphabetically in terms of fruit. So, apples. You're not going to present to me. You're not going to present to me and try and persuade me. The exercise is to work through the themes, the message, and what sort of information, stories, examples. So, apples. Who's going to brief me and the orange team on your themes and message?
Mm.
I mean, you said we're not going to present. Could we share a document on the screen?
You can share a document on the screen. Yeah, you should be able to grab share. I'll give you control. Hang on. Let me just see. There you go, Vincent. I've given you remote control.
Not sure. Few options.
Or I'll make you a co-host. Hang on.
Or I could even just talk maybe through it instead, if that's a bit easier.
Yeah, I'll just go brief through. Yeah, brief through it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Even though,
So,
bear in mind, I have seen your wonderful artwork, and
which is actually just your wonderful artwork that you snipped out and put into the document.
True,
but anyway,
yes.
So from our side, our strategic objective was get Gem to buy apples. It was pretty simple. Our strategic message, the overall strategic message for the campaign, let's say, was being healthy doesn't have to be boring, more for less with apples. So to kind of explain where that comes from, we'll go into the supporting themes. The first supporting theme is utility. Apples are cheaper, tastier, and more useful than all other fruits. So apples actually cost less. Generally, they're easier to eat. You don't have to peel them. You can just wash them and start eating. They taste better. They also can be used in a wide variety of recipes. For instance, it's widely known that apple pie is one of the kind of the world's favorite desserts. Let's say, at least the Western world. But yeah, so that's the utility theme. We've also got a health theme. So apples are actually healthier than most of our competitors. They're better at preventing major diseases like cancer, heart disease, Alzheimer's, things like that. They also importantly help promote weight loss. So if you're feeling a little bit, pudgy after being in lockdown for the last year, it might be a good idea to start eating apples. And they're also really healthy for your gut. So they just generally can kind of help keep the doctor away. So the third theme is variety. Apples they offer far more variety than other fruit, also more variety than oranges. There's over 7,000 different varieties of apples and countless recipes to choose from that are associated with those varieties. So all of that comes back to our strategic message, which is that being healthy doesn't have to be boring and you get more for less with apples. I guess Fiona or Diana, do you have anything you want to add to that? I think we hopefully covered it.
I think that we also discussed how all of those tie up to the key message and the strategic message. So the fact that when we say being healthy doesn't have to be boring, the healthy contains all of the health benefits we discussed. The boring touches on the fact that there are variety and exciting recipes, and the more talks about both the health benefits and the variety, and the less talks about the utility, the cost, the fact that you can eat it straight away without having to peel it. So yeah, I just wanted to.
Yeah. Okay. No. No, I see that. So yeah, so basically your 3 big themes: utility, health, variety. Okay, so they're straightforward. So they're there. You have talked through some of the points which can service those themes. Brilliant. And yeah, big message, healthy. You can be healthy without being boring, more for less. Yeah, they all nod to your themes of utility, health, and variety. Okay, so in terms of the process that you've just gone through, you've taken, okay, what is a fairly simple objective, and you have broken it down into 3 chunks. 3 quite distinct chunks to work with, and they can be encapsulated in a single, they can be distilled into the essence of a message. Okay, that's very good. I haven't made my decision yet. So in that case, you know, apples, yeah, like an apple now and again, but okay, but what about oranges? Okay, so Team Orange. Let's hear what you came up with.
Team Orange representing. So we're thinking about our audience. Obviously, based in Cambridge, let's say based in the UK here, the summertime's coming up, the weather is clearing. Well, like our strategic message at the end was your juicy summery choice, not your average fruit. Okay, so the themes we came up with were around experience, lifestyle, and different, like being different. So on the first theme of experience, we're looking at like juicy and refreshing. It's a messy fruit if you eat it the right way. So we're imagining people outside having a picnic, family, friends, bunch of guys and girls having a picnic with a few beers, and they have oranges there, you know, juice dripping down your arm, getting all sticky. Like it's a fun fruit if you eat it the right way. So that was the experience side. The lifestyle being like it's fun in the sun, like you're out there, you know, with actually I kind of mixed 2 together here.
Yeah, yeah, you mixed 2 up
word
there.
experience and lifestyle.
Yeah.
Sorry, so experience would be like it's juicy and it's refreshing, right? So it's the tangible thing of what the orange actually is. The lifestyle is about the picnic, the friends out in the park, doing things, being messy, different because it's kind of exotic in a way. It's apples in the UK are a dime a dozen, and apples have grown there. Oranges are a bit more kind of foreign, a bit more unique in that sense, and you don't make pies with them. So we're kind of looking at this way of you know, making it seem a bit different from what you maybe see growing on the side of the road or in the local orchards. So yeah, your juicy summery choice, not your average fruit.
Okay, not your average fruit. Right. Okay. So this to summarize. So in terms of themes, you've gone through the tangible experience of eating this thing, the lifestyle that's attached to it, yeah, fun, outside, sun, yeah, and the difference that it is exotic, you know, it comes from abroad, it's not grown locally in the UK, it is different. Yeah, okay, and the message, juicy summery choice, not your average fruit. Again, that nods to, you know, ticks the boxes of those 3 things. Yeah, experience, lifestyle, and difference. Okay. So once again, in terms of the process that you've taken, okay, fairly simplistic concept, but now you've broken it down into concrete themes you can really work with, that you can develop much more now. Okay. So from 2 fruits, we have utility, health, variety, experience, lifestyle, difference. Okay. They are 2 different fruits, but they are still fruits. You've come at it from very different angles. The apples, much more technical, maybe, in the approach. Yeah, it's utility, it's health value. I mean, you know, oranges, you didn't really talk about health. Yeah. But actually, you know, it's a fruit. Everybody knows fruit. Fruits are healthy.
It's fruit.
Why waste my time telling you it's healthy? You kind of know that. Maybe, you know, so I can see the point why you might not, you know. So, and this is important in presentation. Why tell people stuff they already know? You know, so that's quite important to think. Why am I wasting their time and my time by just telling people they already know? So that variety, I think actually variety for the apples, yeah, quite potent. That's a big USP, isn't it? Yeah, so that's something that makes it stand out. I think, oh yeah, I mean, I didn't know that there were 7,000 different varieties of apples. I thought there were only 5 in the shops, which I go to, you know, Marks and Spencer's or whatever, and there are 5 different apples. I thought that was it. So I've learned something that piqued my interest. So in the presentation, wow, didn't realize that. Yeah. So that was good. Which way would I go? Kind of the point, because I like bananas anyway. So so I forgot to mention. So I'm going to go for a banana. So yeah, it won't show favoritism. The point being, actually, it wasn't really about, you know, me buying the fruit. It was about going through the process of taking an idea, an objective, and breaking it into 3 chunks. Yeah, that as the audience. So if the audience, the test is, okay, they come out and you go, so what was all that about? But they could probably go, well, it was about, you know, oranges. Yeah, they're healthy, but actually you can get a hell of a lot out, you know, more for less out of oranges. What did they talk about? Oh, they talked about, you know, how useful and easy to work with oranges were. They talked about the health, and they talked about the fact there's variety, 7,000 different varieties. So easily that the audience can come out of a presentation and they can recall an idea, the message, and 3 things, 3 big things, which are all positive for your message. Likewise with oranges. Hey, you were in that presentation with Noor and Andrew about oranges. What did they say? Oh, they said, you know, it's you know, juicy, summery, and it's, yeah, not far from average. Yeah. Yeah, very different. I didn't know how exotic this thing was, and the lifestyle. They were absolutely right. You know, oranges are about summer and sun and fun, and yeah, oranges. Yeah, they're a bit messy, but they're really nice. 3 things I can remember from that presentation. Okay, I'm being slightly flippant because we know these fruits, but the point being is you've broken into 3 chunks and a key message. The audience can easily walk out of that presentation retaining that. And if they retain it, then they can possibly act upon it. Yeah. Instead of going and writing a presentation going, oh, I can talk about this, I'm going to talk about that, oh, and I've got some slides on this, and oh, that'd be good to throw in. Oh, there's that thing that was, yeah, I'll put that in. All of a sudden, you've got a whole big chunk of stuff, yeah, and you're just asking the audience to navigate this stuff. And they're going, it's all interesting, but really, I'm not going to remember half of this. Whereas if you broke down to 3, and we'll talk about 3s, why psychologically it works, we'll talk about this the next lesson. Yeah, you've managed to make it into a really workable concept. Yeah. So are there any comments on that simple process of chunking? People sometimes call it chunking up. Yeah, sizable chunk in 3s. Any comments on the process you've just been through?
It was kind of funny because we kind of came up with a kind of tagline early, and then we realized that it didn't have any, it didn't relate to our themes at all.
Yeah. And
then we kind of went back and, okay, so we need to, if we want them to come away with, you know, something, we need to actually get the themes in there. And they made it sounded a lot better and made more sense. And it had this kind of, you know, pieces of what we've been discussing in the exercise.
Yeah, yeah. Because as I said, it can be an iterative process. Yeah, you get some themes, you think, oh, that'll work, and this is the kind of message, and then the message says, no, that's not right, doesn't quite work. Are my themes right, or do I need to break them down? I mean, I think with one of the groups, I can't remember which one. I think it was Andrew and Noah. You had we split up one of them, didn't we, into experience and lifestyle, because it was all about experience. There's one big thing about experience, experiencing the fruit, and then lifestyle, experiencing the lifestyle. They're two different things. Break them up, because they can actually be discrete. Yeah. So that's the process of going through, and then you've got 3 discrete, discernible, powerful themes, each of which can stand alone, and they can be supported by loads of information. And you've broken it down. And you go, right, great, there you go. So in terms of content, yeah, what is to be said, you're starting to head down that route, because you've already said, these are the 3 building blocks I've got for my presentation. And if I do this right, the audience will walk out and they'll go, they talked about that, that, and that. And it was all powerful stuff. If I had to sum it up, that's the big message they tried to get across to me. And it was persuasive. And I think, yes, I will adopt this technology or support this program. Vincent.
Yeah, so my general approach for these things is to go top down and go, if we're looking at the house, go, what's the objective, what's the message, and then figure out everything else like to support that, which I was all set to do until Fiona and Diana said, you know, let's go and look at the, you know, we've got the objective, let's look at the themes first and figure out what the message is from that. And it was good, because that is a much better way to figure out what you're trying to say than just like picking a thing that's like specifically tied to the objective, but maybe isn't the easiest thing to message around or come up with a theme around. So that was a good thing for me to learn, because that's changed now how I'll approach that in future. While I think obviously you need to maybe have the strategic objective first, potentially, to build towards, the themes and the information and the stories and stuff can come first, maybe in a bit more of a fluid way underneath, where, you know, you might come up with a theme based on some information you find about the objective. But it was good to see that kind of, the message could change based on what we found out to support the objective, essentially.
The ultimate, to start the process, you've got to know your objective. And in order to know your objective, you've got to know your audience, because the objective is, the audience is to do this. Yeah. So you need that. Without that, you don't even bother starting, really. Yeah. But then the next thing is, okay, what are the big themes I'm gonna break this down into? And then you message. And then it gets iterative, change. And in creating those themes, you will be actually looking at information, stories, and examples. Like 7,000 different varieties of apples. Okay, is that something we should make something of? Oh, it becomes a theme. Because we think, yeah, actually, that's really important. There's varieties of apples and varieties of recipes you can do as well. Yeah, okay, but now that is a thing. We really want to use that. Yeah. So it's a little bit messy, sort of up and down. Yeah, iterative, but I think it works. Yeah.
It's also just quickly, I by chance happened to be rewatching old episodes of, and I don't know if anyone ever has watched this, but The Apprentice, the show that there's the UK, there's the US one, and I was rewatching old episodes of the Irish one because it's a bit of a time capsule of 10 years ago. It's also very kind of funny to look back at it now. But the weird kind of important lesson that I keep seeing when I go into all these tasks is that they do parts of this and then don't do the whole thing. They approach like just the thematic stuff, but not the message, or they'll have an objective and just go straight for that kind of thing. So the importance of this is, I've actually seen it played out in watching that kind of stupid show, but it is like, it does give you a little bit of an indicator of how these things work in real life, let's say, beyond just your own experiences. So
yeah, absolutely. And when we come to the end of this process, you will have a presentation which does do all those. You've got your themes, you've got information, you are hitting a message to an objective. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Well, are there any more comments or questions at this point? Okay, right. We've been talking quite theoretical at the start of this, then we've done some more practical stuff. Next lesson, we're going to be doing linguistic mechanisms and behavioral techniques. So this is now heading towards the second part of Moravian, yeah, in how it is going to be said. Yeah, so we started to build up. Okay, what are we going to say? Oh, big themes, information. Yeah. Okay, now we're going to start thinking about linguistic mechanism and behavioral. So how are we going to say that? How are we going to present it? Okay, so, but before that, you will have to do to what you've already started, the process you've just done with apples and oranges. Okay, so prior to tomorrow, I want you to go through assignment 2A, which builds on assignment 1A. Okay. Oh, let me just log back in again because it's logged me out. Oh no, hang on. Assignment 2A. Oh, here you go. Yeah, assignment 2A. I shall bring it up on the screen, and I will bring it up on the LMS as soon as we finish this this session. So assignment 2A is as follows. Okay, you are going to do, yeah, the same thing you've just done for apples and oranges, but you're going to do it now in the context of your assignment 1A. Yeah. So some of you put in about food clusters, some of you put in about adopting a new technology. I have read them, honestly, the ones that have been submitted. I want you to take, okay, that was my initial plan. Now I want to look at it from this message house approach. I want to think, okay, with this idea I thought, about what I was going to present, this is what I want to happen. And therefore, these are the themes I want to work with. And therefore, this is the message I want to come up with, okay? So you've already done assignment 1A. If you haven't done assignment 1A, go back and look at it because you've got to start somewhere, okay? Assignment 1A was about you doing a general plan for a short presentation. Now you're going to go and apply message house to that general plan, okay? It shouldn't take you long. Information stories and examples are not critical at this point. But if you have got time and think, yeah, actually, I can do it, or you think actually looking at information stories and examples at this point will help me define my themes, then absolutely fine. You'll see here, it's got space for all. Yeah. Go in and write in the gray bits, and they will fill up, okay? You will need this prior to the next lesson, which is tomorrow morning. Yeah. Noah, you've got your hand up. I think you're on mute.
Sorry, I was not. Do you hear me now?
Yeah. No. Yeah.
No. So for the assignment, if we put it in the context of the assignment 1A, is it a little bit more on the messages that you want to convey, or exactly?
Yeah.
So the three themes will be what you would like from that presentation or whatever.
Yeah. So some of you have submitted, short PowerPoint presentations as part of assignment 1A, and that's absolutely fine because I said any format doesn't matter. So now you look at your presentation you've submitted and go, okay, how do I can see what I'm trying to achieve with this, because you'll have a basic idea of what you're trying to achieve, won't you? Yeah. So you've submitted a rough idea. Here's some PowerPoint slides, or here is a plan. Okay, look at that. Now think, okay, if I was going to put it into this schematic message house, what would my 3 key themes be? What am I really trying to achieve with this? Yeah. So I think yours was about food. Was yours a food cluster?
Yes, it was on the but I mean it's I'm realized. I mean there are a little bit like different objectives in the presentation. So how to
choose one.
Yeah.
one. If you try and achieve too much, the audience gets a little bit lost. What's she trying to get me to do? What's the point of this? Yeah. So especially if it's a short presentation, 5 to 10 minutes. Just go, what's the one thing I want them to do at the end of this? Just choose one.
Understood.
Yeah. And then think, okay, I've got some PowerPoint slides, so I kind of know what I want to do. Now think, okay, how do I break that down into 3 themes? Yeah. And some of the information, stories, examples will be already on your PowerPoint slides, because I've seen some of them are quite detailed. Yeah. So some of that information you might think, okay, that can go straight in there, support that theme. Yeah. But ultimately, by tomorrow, I want you to have taken your plan, not thrown it away at all, but now you've just taken your initial plan, put it into the message house context, and then tomorrow we'll come back and look at, okay, does that now work? And then we'll look at, okay, now let's think about how we say these things. Okay? Everybody happy with the instructions? Okay, so if you haven't done assignment 1A, have a look at it. You have to do some degree of thinking. Yeah, to start doing this. Start doing 2A. All right? Super. Okay, with that, we're a little bit ahead of time, which is very unusual for me because I tend to waffle on a bit. Are there any other questions or comments? Are we all happy with what we've got to do over the next 24 hours? Yeah. Super. And don't forget to submit as well. Go on the system and submit as well. I will go into the LMS now and make sure that you have assignment 2A visible and you can crack on. Vincent, you got your hand up.
Yeah, kind of unrelated, but also to do with the workbook. So yeah, I'm curious because I have been kind of reading through it and going through it, but then I noticed that it still says 0% or whatever. Is this because you have to go and do all of those little interactive elements within it in order to?
You've got to do like self-assessment and tick.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not just, you can't just read through it and then
no, I don't think I mean, I'm not a techie, but I don't think it's that clever. It can't actually tell whether you've otherwise you just go boom 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 and not read it at all, and it'll go 100%.
No, I was wondering just if there was some sort of issue with the connection between my reading of it or whatever, but I understand if it's actually the interactive part that's being measured as the completed rate. That's fine. I'll make sure I do that.
But don't worry, I'm not going to mark you on that. I'm not going to go, oh, you haven't done that. The app workbooks, they are for you because we're not giving you any notes on this. We're not giving the slides. We're not giving you handouts. That's your book. That's your book. So yeah, don't worry about if it's not registering on my system.
It's just the secondary school student in me came out for a brief moment and wanted to put my hand up and say, I did actually do the homework. So yeah.
No gold stars for you, Brown. Yeah. Okay.
No,
super.
Thanks, Vincent, because I wanted to say the same thing. It's not Andrew Holgate. I mean, he's not the only one who's taken a look at the workbook. So.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
I figured out the trick.
You see, well, he's techie. He knew exactly what buttons to press. Didn't he?
I went back and I went, I have to do these little exercises.
Yeah, it could be hacked.
Well, actually, I think you can actually just open them and then close them, and then I think it does.
Don't tell them that. Quite possibly don't. God, it's up to you. It's for you guys to do with what you wish. Okay, yeah. But it is our little competition we often do just to bring it on the system. Say, oh, who's done what? But don't worry, it doesn't mean much. Okay, super. All right then, everybody. Well, if there are no other questions or comments, then we will end today's session bang on time, and I'll see you tomorrow morning. Remember to submit your assignment 2As. I'll see you tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock Rome time, 10 o'clock Zimbabwe time as well. Super. Excellent.
Thanks.
Thank you very much,
everybody.
Thank you.
Tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Cheers. Bye.
Enjoy your orange.
Bye.
Banana. See you now.
Yeah.